Hello, this is Reverend Bill. Um, Today is January 29th, and it's just a couple of minutes before 6:30 p.m. Eastern Time. And tonight, I thought I would, well, not really review. It's kind of hard to review a documentary because with a documentary, they're dealing with a subject matter. So, I mean, you could say, yeah, it's a good documentary, but you'd have to comment really on the subject matter because if they do a good job, and in this case he did, it gets you thinking, and you end up more um, critiquing the mindset of the people in the documentary than you do of actually the artistic work of the documentary. So let me just say right off the bat that it's done very very well by Matt Walsh from the Daily Wire. So yeah, he did a great job. But I'm going to be spending more time talking about the subject matter, which I think is probably more beneficial than discussing, the cinematography or the lighting of documentary. For those of you who don't know, Matt Walsh is on the Daily Wire with Ben Shapiro and Michael Knowles and a few others. Conservative. He does speeches and he's got his own podcasts. He's quite good, actually. And he does actually write books and he does documentaries. And this one's a little bit off center in that he goes basically undercover, pretending to be a DEI. I'm not sure pretending is the right word because he actually does sit down and get certified in DEI, and he carries a card in his back pocket to prove that he's a DEI expert. But it's all pretty much tongue in cheek with him. We're in on the joke, obviously. The people that he's talking to, the so-called experts, not so much. Some figure him out. Some don't know what to make of him. But it's interesting. It's kind of not an easy watch, to be honest with you. And I don't think he meant it to be an easy watch. You find yourself kind of judging people and thinking about yourself and thinking about society in general. And I think he comes to some interesting conclusions and points. One of the people he went to see is Brashia Wade. And I'll tell you flat out, there are a lot of people, these race baiters and politicians and media, that are making tons of money off creating racism. Racism is out there. We know it's out there, but they are making a lot of money by making it to be, critical. Like, for example, when Biden was in office and he said that the biggest threat to I guess America is white supremacy, which I've never known a white supremacist. I'm sure I've met them and didn't know who they were, but and I'm nearly 60 years old. I've been around the block a few times, and I never came across a white supremacist, and I've come across all kinds of people. So they're out there, but I wouldn't call it like an epidemic. And these people actually get quite a good living making it into a critical issue. And this Brashia Wade is a good example. Now, she has a workshop, for lack of a better a word I'm looking for here. I guess you'd call it a workshop, where she charges $33,000 a person, and they sit around in a circle. I actually just missed it there. They showed her, but she has people sit around in a circle, and they all white, and they all talk about things that they may have done that might be racist, and how disgusting and guilty they are. She's got a room set aside for crying, so if anyone feels really guilty and needs to let it out, they can go and cry it out in that room. We're going to talk more about the crying room later on, actually. So anyway, so Matt Walsh went there, and he was pretty funny, actually. He was interrupting a lot, and they kind of knew something was up. especially when he decided that he had to go into the crying room. And when he went to the crying room, they figured it out and they threw him out. And they even called the police, which surprised me. What law was broken? I mean, I assume he paid the fee or he wouldn't have been there. She's paying they're paying 33 grand to go in there and sit around and feel badly about themselves. And he paid the money, I guess. And when they told him to leave, he pretty much left. He had a couple of questions like why he should have to leave. But apart from that, I mean, there was no problems. Why they called the police, I don't know. Then there was another one, Sarah Tocola, and she was at a discount. She would sit down and talk to you for $1,500, and she was getting into things like how I don't even know, to be honest with you, what she was talking about, but she was basically saying that we have to split ourselves from our ancestors. Because our ancestors were bad, and try to separate yourself from your ancestors is not going to work because you have a gray side and you need to merge with the gray side. I don't know what the hell she was talking about. But she was basically saying that no white people could escape racism, even though you may not have done anything. It's inherent, and your parents passed it on to your grandparents. You know, the whole thing just is kind of crazy for $1,500. And I'm actually a hypnotist, a certified. I'm not sure I mentioned that to you before, but I actually did get certified in hypnotism. Went to a class and all that thing. Never actually practiced it for a living, but I could have. I just kind of did it because I was curious. And I'll tell you, when you start talking about things like having a separate personality and what you call that a gray side that you've got to merge, she better be careful because you can actually create multiple personalities if you don't know what you're doing. She gave me no indication she had any idea what she was doing when she was talking about having different personalities part of your body and look for it. And she's got to be careful because like I said, you can certainly split a person up into personalities if you don't know what you're doing. And she sounded like she was dangerously close to stepping on that. Furthermore, I mean, this is a country that's a kind of a melting pot. I myself, I think I mentioned it before, I'm an Irish immigrant. I spent most of my life here, so I lost my brogue. And I'm married to a Nigerian woman. And to the best of my knowledge, none of her family ever was a slave. And in Ireland, we were the slaves to the English. We certainly didn't, own any slaves. So this is actually completely different to like someone in our position, but they don't seem to allow for that. If you're white, and that's all to it. You can't run from it. You're a racist. I don't know. Then there's another a couple that you can pay if you pay them. Is it 50,000 or 5,000? Anyway, it's a lot of money. I want to say it was 50, but for some reason I put down 5,000. But anyway, it's a lot of money. They will come over and they will have the two of them, and they will sit there. And it's only white women are allowed to go. White women are the only ones to go, and they also need a crying room. And when you go there, they sit there and they again make you feel guilty for being white, and they ask you to kind of go over things you've done that are racist and make you think about things. And I guess they, to say that you are not racist would not fly with them. Matt Walsh pretended to be a waiter because he couldn't get in on it. He wasn't a white female. And let's talk about this crying room that was interesting. I didn't know when Rashia Wade mentioned a crying room. I was very confused about that. But it was cleared up with the dinner. And they said that the crying room was for white women because they said white women like to cry to draw attention to themselves. And this wasn't about them. This was about racism and black people. And they said that if a white woman starts to cry, people seem to pay attention. So they asked that she take the crying into a private room and close it. So I guess she wouldn't take attention away from them, I guess. weird. You know, the interesting thing that I found is that he did go to the Deep South, and he decided that he was going to ask um, the people there. I know he went to a biker bar. I'm not sure how deep in the South that one was. And then later on, he went to a church and he talked to some people there. And I think he talked to a former drug addict, a black man who was living in the South. But the funny thing is, the and I don't know the people in the biker bar. I would assume that they probably don't have PhDs. They look like they were just some guys hanging on drinking beers on a hot day. With their tattoos and what you'd expect to see in a biker bar. And they all essentially said they don't even think about racism. Never thought about it. What's the big deal? Color doesn't matter to them. One of them said that him right there, as a matter of fact, said that he has a black brother that he considers his brother, and he's black. And then when he went into the church and I think he talked to a pastor, and he talked to a former drug dealer who repented and found Jesus. God bless him. They pretty much said the same thing, and they said, we're black, but we've never had any problems here. He also found a man that moved from the Cayman Islands in 1972, and he said, I don't really ever remember having a problem with racism at all. And Matt Walsh was saying, well, it's obvious that we're different. The guy said something like, well, if I take out my knife now and I cut me and I cut you, how different will we be then? We'll both bleed. So I guess what I'm trying to say is there seemed to be a lot of wisdom with the people who didn't get these PhDs. And one of them, this Sarah Tocola, she had a PhD in something I never even heard of. I should have wrote it down. But they're giving like majors and things that I've never heard of before. Don't know what she was studying to get it. Should have actually written it down, but it was something I've never heard of before. Probably never will hear of again. But anyway, getting back to it, it seemed like the more down to earth guys, the guys in a bar, and the guys that just go to church and praise Jesus, they've never really had a problem with racism. And I know with my experience, I grew up in the Boston area. I moved out here just about 4 years ago to Georgia. And as far as Georgia goes, my wife is African, and there was one we did deal with racism one time, and I took care of that. But that was it. And 4 years there was one. And that was the exception, not the norm. In the Boston area, I mean, and by the way, I should probably mention that for almost 10 years now, I'm happily married to my wife now. She's my fourth wife. For about, I don't know, 5-6 years. I was dating African women before then. So about 10 years I've been with African women, and I actually did come across racism in one of the islands we went to, Paradise Island. It was funny, kind of. DJ Khalid was there. Of course, I couldn't talk to him. He was surrounded by bodyguards. But yeah, no, there was one instance we had which was reverse. I was asking directions, and one of the natives, he answered us, but he would not answer to me. He answered to my girlfriend at the time, who was from Uganda. He wouldn't talk to me. That was no big deal. But I grew up in the Boston area, and I've talked to the people that I knew there. I grew up in Brockton, which is kind of a big city south of Boston, very mixed, and I don't ever remember anything as far as racism go. I do know that the high school had a couple of race riots, which were not race riots. One of them was an argument over a cupcake. One happened to be black, one happened to be white. and they fought over a cupcake, and everyone saw an opportunity to walk out of school, so they called it a race riot and left. But no, there was never any real race riots. There was never any. I didn't see anything. I'm not saying there isn't anything. I'm saying I didn't see anything in all my years there, 50 odd years. So I guess what I'm trying to say is there's an awful lot of money to be made and convincing people that race is the biggest problem in the world. It's not the economy. It's not jobs. It's not threat of nuclear war. It's it's racism, and you give me $5,000, I'll tell you how to get rid of it. It's really turning into a very, very big business. I was very surprised the money that he threw around. Um, there was another woman, and you might have seen her. She had her two black children in a Sesame Place parade, and Rosita, with one of the mascots, walked by and didn't acknowledge her two children, and she sued. She did lose the lawsuit. The person in the suit, well, by the way, I was kind of confused. I tried finding it. I couldn't find out what race was in the suit. I'm not saying it's not out there. I'm saying I couldn't find it. I did look for about 15 minutes and then gave up. But apparently the suit, the with the eyes, it's hard to see anything there. So these two little children, I guess, were not seen. At least that's what they were saying. And she walked by them. It was not a snub intentionally. Anyway, this woman said that she would tell her story to Matt Walsh for $50,000. Maybe that was $50,000. Maybe the dinner was five. I don't know. There's big dollars to be made here. There was another one, Robin DiAngelo, who wrote a book, and she sat down. It's one of the bestsellers. She sat down for $15,000, and I guess she was paid because she sat down with Matt Walsh. And he was again kind of undercover, and it was kind of funny. He said they would talk about reparations, and he brought in a black friend, and he coerced Robin DiAngelo into giving him $30 for reparations. It was kind of humorous, but essentially, I guess what I'm trying to get to is, I know there's racism. I don't think it's the number one problem in America today. At least if it is, it's evaded me. I haven't seen it. And watching this, it seems that the more money you can get from racism, the bigger the issue is. It looks like you go to the old people on the street in New Orleans or Atlanta or someplace in the deep South. Racism doesn't seem to be that big an issue with us. They even got a lot of signatures. Yeah, he was trying to get the Washington Monument to change to the George Floyd Monument, and he wanted to paint it black. I was surprised. He actually got a lot of signatures from white and black people. So I don't know. So that's pretty much it. I think it's an interesting documentary to watch. He did a good job in it. I'm also kind of surprised, because I think it was the highest grossing documentary last year, and yet they did not nominate it for the documentary category for, I don't think, the Golden Globes or the Oscars. I guess they just did not like the subject matter. So anyway, well, that's it now. Now the next thing is, and this one I'm not sure of, I know Amelia Perez is up for best movie, one best musical or something, the Golden Globes. And I know I'm going to hate it, but it comes down to, should I do it or should I not? Last time I knew I was going to hate something, and I saw it anyway, and I hated it, was The Marvels. And I don't know. I guess I might have to bite the bullet and just suffer. A lot of other people who are critics are suffering, so why not me? I'll have to check that out and see. Anyway, thank you for your time. If you did like this, please like, share, and subscribe. If you want to shoot me an email, my email's right there. I'd love to hear from you. Have any ideas you want me to cover? That's fine too. So with that, I'll say have a good night, and I will talk to you later.